But anyway, the name's, and I've been involved with CRTF, from the beginning. Rita, Rita. Very good. Yeah. Well, so very cool. It's a skill at work.
Can't see y'all, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They host us. It's incredible. When we started CRTF, it was the Humboldt Fire Department. Uh, anyway, and for political reasons, we kind of got told no. And the reason being, that's why I mentioned it, is because they thought that being a part of CRTF was giving the false impression that they were giving services outside of their jurisdiction. And that is just not right. The partnership, it's not a membership, it's a partnership. We give them what we have to give. If it's not in your jurisdiction, nobody's gonna want you to do that. But if you have it to give within that talent, then you do. That's what CRTF is. So anyway, so it started after Rita Katrina. Back then, nobody was organized. It was just a man-made disaster, and the community got together and decided something had to be done. So this is the result of it. Out of CRTF grew a lot of good stuff. You know, hospitals got more organized and this and that, and hospitals would be hospitals, exchange experiences and grow. And basically kind of grow out of this, so we're proud of that. So today we're the channel to communicate through. We have an app. If you take anything away from this meeting, it would be the app. It's the key. Put that key on your phone. Something may happen. Something may happen to somebody that you know you want to help. Just share the key. They can post their need, whatever it is, and it'll get distributed like it's right away. Probably to the right people. That would be government, hospitals, school districts, but to the right people, not just blah blah. And it may be your neighbor in trouble and you not know. But your neighbor putting it out there, you may catch it and go, oopsie. Or I may not have it to give, but I know somebody who does. And that's what we do. So anyway, my name's Philippe and I kind of involved, I sit down. Board members, Earl's vice president, get involved with ever secretary and treasurer, Leroy been involved for some time and then not and then back. Couldn't get rid of him 5 years, yeah. And then Miss Alice.
Yes, I've been here since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Since before you,
I know it.
and I'm a former firefighter.
And her shirt is unordered. Has been for a year.
2 years now, I'm waiting for my shirt.
Well, this is a gift from the fire department. It's not that we don't want to pay, can't pay. Being Rotary has been incredible. So we have the money for that. It's just that we want to save one. So so it's on order. It's been for you have to rub it in. Okay, and then we'll go around the room, but I'm looking at Lynch, that is a rock for me. Because these organizations go and it does that, we're a 501c3. We can't hire anybody, fire anybody, so the only way to promote it is from the top to be starts, and we've done it for 25 years. Dr. David, I'll be introduced to you in a little bit. I think I'll start with. Oh, are everyone say something? You're good? Okay.
My name is Malcolm Fassad. Always, since long time, always involved with the community society. Also, my case manager for Sarah International, helping people for jobs, housing in needs, and I did a lot of training with crisis management with Continental Airline. First response.
Pauline Crafts, I'm his daughter. I'm just here to support him.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Schwerin. I'm just trying to be the eyes and ears of the church community and nonprofit community here, and represent our community. Those who want to be his hand.
Hello, everyone.
Again, Clayton, Harris County Precinct 3, Commissioner Tom Ramsey's office.
My name is Steve Coates. I'm a friend who lives, he invited me. And I accepted because it was a decent place.
Is that why? Not because it's cheap.
And I'll take that one for the team.
My name is Matthew Coyne, I'm also a friend of Philippe's. Check this out, always trying to get active in the community and find different ways I can help, so. Here, awesome.
So I'm Sonia Garcia. I belong to the Rotary Club, the pilot club, which is a charity club. It's not like I'm a pilot or anything. I have a St. Mary Magdalene Church, so I just love helping the community and whoever needs help. So I'm here for that.
And representing Rotary. The
Yeah.
support for community. Yeah, absolutely. So.
Pete Cheney, I'm here because my wife told me to be here. Her turn.
What's I mean?
Lynn Cheney, I've been involved with CRTF for about 9 years. And I ended up having to resign for some health reasons, but it's a great organization and I'm glad you're all here.
Hiring, we're good. Yeah, just want to make sure we're good. Leland, we're good.
But you already introduced it.
I did, but I wondered. I just wanted to respect
With the
you.
meeting.
Wanted to respect you. Well, thank you all for being here, different organizations. We should be recording and then for the people that want to be online, and then we'll record it and post it on our website. So as a resource. So anyway, my pleasure to introduce Dr. David and he's an amazing individual and you know, love communicating with him, love his mission. He's you'll tell more about yourself, but anyway, please do about yourself because it's an amazing history. But here to represent something he created, he started, and it's Eating the Hundred. And the 63-acre site, basically farmed by neighbors, volunteers, for their own use as well, but basically then distributed to the food kitchens, which, you know, Michael is very involved in food distribution, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want to steal your show. That's really wonderful story. So please, Dr. Vita, thank you. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for being. I'm gonna pass around kit and caboodle. There was a article written about Harvest for the Hungry, and thanks to Michael and his contacts, it was published in the spring 2024 edition. So if you're interested, it kind of gives a Cliff Notes version of what I'm going to talk about today, and I'll have a business card going around as well. Here as well.
Grand entrance. I got a grand entrance.
Thanks. Thank you. 30 minutes or so. So it's a pleasure and an honor a privilege to be able to speak to this distinguished group. And thank you, Philippe, for allowing me to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. And I'm going to talk about a nonprofit that I founded in 2019 called Harvest for the Hungry. This nonprofit is, as Philippe mentioned, is located on 61 acres in Freeport, Texas. So it's about an hour, 20 minutes from here. For those who don't know that area, there's Surfside Beach, which is about 7 minutes from the farm. We're about 10-15 minutes from Lake Jackson. if you're familiar with that area. This is a picture of the farm, and you can see of the 61 acres in color here, 30 of the acres is water. It's a man-made sand pit that filled in over time with storms and floods and rain, and it is brackish water. Just a very brief summary of who I am. Lee mentioned, I am a physician by training. I serve at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center. I work in the emergency room department as an emergency medicine physician. But my passion is in this nonprofit where our mission is to address food insecurity with local, fresh, and nutritious farm foods. And then if that weren't enough, on the side, I also serve as a pastor for a church in Cypress, Texas called Faith Fellowship Church. Those things keep me busy, and I must be a glutton for trouble because we just had a new addition to our family, and so we had our third child, and so I'm very happy to have that third tax deduction, which is keeping me very busy. But like some of the members here, I'm very passionate about serving our community, and I'll tell you my story as we go along. I also serve as a Rotarian in the Brazosport Rotary Club, which is in Lake Jackson. So when I talk about food insecurity, most of us think about the picture on the left. An African child with skinny limbs, of visible ribs, who is on the brink of death with starvation. But food insecurity is actually much more than that. Food insecurity, if you look at the definition by USDA and others, refers to not having adequate nutritious meals to sustain an active lifestyle. And this child here on the right, which of course is a picture of me, I struggled with food insecurity when I was a child. My parents were immigrants from Taiwan. They came over in the 70s, and they were working. Both of my parents were working. We struggled with food insecurity. We lived a very impoverished life. There were many nights when there wasn't even food on the table, much less healthy food on the table. And so I was very fortunate to be raised by my grandmother, who was an avid gardener. And so that's where the first experiences in growing local food came to me. She transformed our backyard in Katy, Texas, in a full-fledged garden. She was so good that she was able to grow enough vegetables for us to take to Chinese grocery stores and barter for other Chinese vegetables. And so we always had a constant influx of good Asian Chinese vegetables. If you look at the statistics in Texas, the numbers are staggering. 1 in 8 people in Texas are facing hunger. And of those, 1 in 5 children are facing hunger. And you can see that it's over $1.6 trillion that all this hunger is leading to. And so I don't need to tell you that these numbers apply to this area, because it does. It also applies to the area where the farm is as well. And so with my background, struggling with food security, as a physician, where 80%, in my estimation, of what comes through the ER could probably be prevented with lifestyle changes, better diet, better lifestyle. And as a physician, as a pastor as well, where most of the spiritual decline in health is probably as a component related to physical health. I believe as a physician health is very holistic. You affect one area of health, of physical health, it can impact your spiritual health and vice versa. There are many components of health: physical, spiritual, mental, emotional. But any aspect of that that's affected will affect another aspect of health. So what you're going to hear me talk about at Harvest for the Hungry is that we take a very holistic approach to taking care of our community members. Our mission is to provide healthy farm-to-table food to those struggling with food insecurity in South Texas. Now, we do that through the 3 E's. The 3 E's, a community where every individual has access to fresh and local, fresh and nutritious food through experience, education, and evangelism. What do I mean by these 3 things? We don't want to just be a food pantry or a food hub. Don't get me wrong, food pantries are very helpful, and we partner with all the food pantries in our local area. But food pantries, oftentimes, what happens there is a bag of food is given to a community member or their family, and then they leave. So that is a crutch that they're dependent upon a food pantry. There's no way to get them outside of this vicious cycle that they're in. So our strategy is to enable and empower community members to do what they learn at the farm and do it at their own home, work, or school environment. So let me go into specifics. Experience. We want to give our community members agriculture experience, whether it's farming or gardening. We show them how to grow food in their backyards. We show them how to prepare soil. We show them what can grow in what areas. We show them how to set up irrigation, fertilize, how to do pest control, and how to harvest food. Secondly, education. We try to promote the benefits to eating healthy. One of the reasons why we have an obesity epidemic is because of the foods that people are ingesting. Again, not to badmouth food pantries, but many food pantries give out canned foods or boxed foods. Canned foods are high in salt. Salt is a preservative, it prolongs the shelf life, but salt is not good. And those types of amounts, it increases blood pressure and cardiovascular issues. Boxed foods. Boxed foods are highly processed foods, so they have high carbohydrates, high lipids, and those 2 things alone, canned goods and boxed foods, are a contributor for obesity. So what we try to do is the foods that they just put sweat equity into, that they learn how to grow, we teach them how to cook the food they just harvested. We have a 4,000 square foot state-of-the-art education center, which has a kitchen in it. So they take the foods that they just grown, we show them how to cook food that they just grew. We teach them the benefits of eating these healthy foods, the protein, the calories, the antioxidants, the vitamins. But then we also show them how to cook it in a healthy and tasty manner. And that's not just stove and oven, but it's also the lost art of canning, freeze drying, dehydration, and many other methods where it allows the foods to have a long shelf life. You know, these foods, if you stick them in the refrigerator, 2 weeks, they're going to go bad. But if you freeze dry them, for example, those can be stored for 20 or 30 years. So it gives you an idea of how we can address food insecurity in a healthy and tasty manner, but also address some of these issues with storage and shelf life. And the third E is evangelism. as a pastor, I want every person who comes to the farm, whether it's a client, a donor, a visitor, to know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior, Lord and Savior. And that is the reason why we founded Harvest for the United. It's the reason why I founded it. We want to use feeding people physically as a platform for feeding them spiritually. And so how do we do that? We do that through sharing the gospel verbally. We do that through loving our neighbors. We do that by praying with them. We do that with giving them the word of God with the food that they get, so that they can associate spiritual food with their physical food. So these are just a few pictures of some of the activities and people who actually come to the farm. All demographics come to the farm. We don't discriminate. We don't say, oh, just because you can't farm or have no experience, you can't come. We welcome all. So we have children that come out, we have adults that come out, we have retired individuals that come out, male, female, all races, all different individuals from all different counties of Texas come out. So here you see a picture in the top left of a child, and others, they're preparing soil. Here in the middle, you see, excuse me, children, they're planting. And here in the top right, this is a picture of a okra tree. You can see them harvesting. This is the picture of the 4,000 square foot education center. You can see here's a class on teaching the benefits to eating healthy. And here you can see a class on them doing a cooking lesson. So we have microgreens that children learned how to just harvest and add them to their sandwiches and salads and things like that. So what types of foods do we have at the farm? This just gives you a brief taste, if you will, of the types of foods that we grow at the farm. We grow all sorts of vegetables and fruits. What you see at HEB or Kroger's, we grow that. This just gives you an example. We have some bell peppers, tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, okra, eggplant. We grow watermelon, cabbage. So we have open fields. We have high tunnels, or basically like greenhouses. We have a chicken coop with a run. We have about 100 chickens, and we have roosters and hens, and they are mainly for eggs. So we get about, usually at peak, 1 egg per chicken every day or every other day. So that gives you an idea. We probably get about 60 eggs every day. Good source of protein. And all these chickens, they're actually donated to us. We work really closely with our community. We work with philanthropic groups like Rotary, who works with multiple independent school districts. We work with Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America, many food pantries, as well as other nonprofits and for-profits that come out to our farm. In that area, if you're familiar with the Freeport area, there's a lot of chemical companies such as Dow, Olin, Freeport LNG, ME Global, and they have these summer programs where every Friday they get paid, but they come out and do community work. So every week we get these for-profits as well as nonprofit members coming out. Here's a picture of my oldest daughter, Isabella. She's going to turn 6 in August. She loves the chickens, and she loves collecting eggs. The other thing we have at the farm is we have an apiary. That's a fancy word for bees, bee boxes. And we produce local, raw, pure honey. And each of the 30 boxes produce approximately 30 to 50 gallons of honey. And as you know, honey is a very sweet substitute for sugar. It's also has good antimicrobial properties. If you ever get a cut, you could put honey on it and it actually would clean it up like a neosporin, if you will. But more important than the honey is that bees serve as pollinators. So before we had bees, we had an X amount of production. After we got bees, we increased our production threefold compared to when we didn't have bees. So bees serve a very, very important aspect of our farm. And then in addition to the chicken, the fruits, the vegetables, the honey, on that first slide I showed you, half our property is water. So of course, I was thinking, how can we make half of our property a food source? And so 3 years ago, we were blessed with a grant from Bass Pro to stock the lake with edible fish. So there's now catfish, crappie, bass, bluegill in that lake where literally, you know the adage where you can teach a man to fish, or you can give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish a fish, you feed him for life. And so we are literally teaching people how to fish. We'll give them a fishing pole, we'll give them a bait, we'll show them how to put it together, and they'll fish for their food. They'll catch it, they get this experience. We show them how to clean the fish and show them how to cook the fish so that they have a very healthy, edible food source, and they have fun at the same time. So these are our metrics, some of our metrics. What did we do last year? Last year, we grew 18,000 pounds of food from the farm. Now you may say, oh, that's not that much. The food pantry gives out, millions of pounds a year. Keep in mind the Houston Food Bank supplies all the food to those food pantries. They're not growing their own food. This 18,000 pounds, these are food that we grew from the farm. In fact, we are one of the producers for Houston Food Bank. They come out every month, once a month, and get food from us. That food gets distributed to all these food pantries all around the greater Houston area. Another metric that we have is how many education classes on nutrition. Last year, 42 nutritional classes. These are classes where showing people what are the vitamins, the proteins, the antioxidants, the calories associated with the foods that they just harvested. These are the classes where we're showing them how to cook the foods. Remember, not just stove, but canning, pickling, dehydrating, and freeze drying. And then we have over 1,000 volunteers. These are unique volunteers who have had a visit to the farm at least 3 times or more. And so people are just itching to get out there to experience farming, gardening, nutritional education classes. And many of these volunteers help us to share the gospel to those in that area. People always ask me, why did you choose Freeport as the location of your farm? And the short answer is, I didn't choose it. God chose it for me. And how did God choose it for me, you ask? Well, as I mentioned, I struggled with food insecurity as a child. And I prayed for 40, 50 years that God would show me a place and a time to start a farm like Harvest Food. And 5 years ago, at the hospital I worked at, the VA hospital, my medical colleague came up to me and said, do you know anyone who wants to buy 61 acres in Freeport? So I knew God answered my prayer on where. A week later, $1.1 million came in so that the nonprofit could buy the property. So I knew God answered my prayer in terms of timing. Now, I've been struggling for the past 5 years with God saying, why Freeport? The soil there is terrible. It's black gumbo clay. If you know what black gumbo clay is, it's basically it's clay that retains water, and it's not that fertile, powdery black soil that you see that just vegetables and fruits like to thrive in. So we've spent the past 5 years, number one, to clear the property. The prior owner was just using it as a weekend home. So we were clearing trees, brush, weeds, and much, much more than that. We've had to amend the soil. With this clay, we needed to put more organic matter back in so that we could grow things. And so God's blessed us with working with wood chip companies. When there are storms, there are companies that go out to remove those trees that have fallen over. And what wood chip companies do is they remove those trees and they grind them up into wood chips, which eventually turn into mulch. And so working with those groups, now they dump all their wood chips instead of to Living Earth, where they have to pay Living Earth $200 to dump the wood chips, which is, by the way, they turn around and make soil and sell it again, so they get double profit. We've asked them to dump it at Harvest for the Hungry, so we get it free. And that allows us to do multiple things. Those wood chips we put everywhere. Wood chips serve three purposes. One, they put the organic matter back into this clay, black gumbo clay. Number two, it serves as a moisture retention. So it's like a sponge, it holds on to the water. And then number three, it reduces the pressure for weeds. When you're covering it, weeds don't get sunlight, there's no photosynthesis, the weeds die. So that has been a wonderful blessing. That's also what we try to focus at the farm, is a regenerative, sustainable model. So we try to utilize the natural resources, we reuse, we recycle, we repurpose. Another example is we have neighbors that were redoing their picket fences. They were throwing away their wood picket fences. We said, we'll take your trash and make it our treasure by converting those wood picket fences into raised bed gardens. And so it's just wonderful. The food pantries that we work with, sometimes they get overripe fruits and vegetables. Before, they were just thrown away in the trash. What we do now is work with them to move their overripe fruits and vegetables and put it into our compost. Right. And so you can see now we're working with our community to be a little bit more regenerative, sustainable, and reusing everything, recycling and repurposing everything. The statistic I didn't put up here, which I'm actually most proud of, is that over the past year, we've been able to share the gospel, and 74 people came to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And that, to me, is just why we do what we do. These are more pictures of volunteers that come out. This is just a reminder for me to tell you, we work really closely with our community. We work with school districts, we work with Rotary clubs, we work for-profits, nonprofit groups, we work with several churches in that area, we work with food pantries, we work with the chemical companies, we work with much more community groups. And I don't know if it's possible, but Philippe, maybe we could even get this group somehow to come out one time for what I would call a volunteer. You know, they get to tour the property and do a little bit of volunteering at the same meeting. Yes, amongst other things. People always ask, how do you pay for your organization? We have a lot of, we have some overhead with personnel. We have 4 full-time people, a couple of part-time people. But as you heard me say earlier, most of our work of what we do is dependent on volunteers. Volunteers are really the lifeline of our organization. But the funding comes from these groups, Rotary, United Way, Brazoria County, Stoller Foundation, Save the Children, Community Network Pacoda, and No Kid Hungry. So we actually have 7 board members, and we carefully select our board members based off of their skill set. We don't just pick any warm body. We really think about who and what skill set is needed. So we have Cody Vasut. He's our Texas State representative. He's a House representative of Brazoria County, but he also serves as a lawyer in a secular job. So he helps us review contracts and things like that. Amy Waldorf, she's a director of procurement at Freeport LNG, which is one of the major chemical companies out there. Kenny Werner, he's a very savvy, godly man, very savvy businessman. So he helps us with our finances and looks at our bookkeeping. My brother, he's not on the board anymore, and he's was substituted with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Vincent Solis. He is the president of the Brazosport College there. Susan Park, she's my wife. She's just good at overall many different things. She wears a lot of different hats, allows me to kind of bounce ideas off her at all sorts of times of the day, and myself. So that in a nutshell, I think that's my 30 minutes, is what Harvest for the Hungry is about. We're here to share the gospel. We want to feed people both spiritually and physically. And I thank you for your attention, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Are you still practicing medicine?
Yeah, the question is, am I still practicing medicine? The answer is yes. I still am practicing at the VA hospital. In fact, for over 25 years now, in the emergency room. And so you ask, how do I do it with all these different things going on? I don't sleep very much. Probably about 3 hours is what I normally get through a weekday, and I make some of it up during the weekends. I work at the farm during the day, so from 9 to 5. And then in the evenings, I'll work at the hospital, usually from 10 p.m. to about 5 to 6 a.m. So I do the graveyard shift at the VA hospital, and I still do see patients there. Other question, Michael?
I want to challenge you to take the moment to envision the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And share that vision of where you think the Lord is taking you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And my short answer is that I want to use this model that God has designed and do it elsewhere. We've had many people come to me and say, why don't you do this in Fort Bend? Why don't you do this in Paramount or whatever? People have asked, why don't you do this in another state? Why don't you do this in another country? And I always tell them that we haven't quite perfected our model yet. So we have limited bandwidth, and we want to perfect what we do before we expand into other areas. So that's the short answer. The longer answer is, not only do we want to expand physically, but I want to see this expand spiritually. I want to see a revival. I want to see people come to know Christ just in ways that we know could not be happening without God's hand in it. You know, I told you, still struggle with why God chose Freeport. The soil's bad. But the short answer is God put us in Freeport, number one, because the food insecurity there is 30% higher. But number two, and probably more importantly, 40%, 40 to 50% of the individual there do not know Jesus Christ. I think that's why God put us free. It's because there is a physical and a spiritual insecurity in Freeport, Texas. And so I want to see this expanded to all regions that have similar issues with both food insecurity and spiritual insecurity. So that's where I see this going, is to other areas one day once we perfect the model.
I'm gonna press in a little bit more.
Sure.
I know you have a vision also for housing
Yes.
and for that model of discipleship.
Yes.
Again, dream with us a little bit.
Yeah.
What, you know, we know all things are possible, but, you know, you're working on models of preservation of food, of, you know, quote unquote, a business model for income,
Yes.
right? But plugging into and building into people's lives is what I hear where you want to go with discipleship.
Absolutely.
So
We've talked about this, and Michael's been just a dear friend, and he has some insights that some of you may not have. We are interested in looking at taking care of people's housing needs as well, because that is one area that we get a lot of inquiries, because we have land. Why not build houses on the land where those who are being housed there would perhaps also work the land and also get a skill set from being at the farm? And so we've talked about this. We talked about this with our friend Keith. He has a nonprofit called Serving Veterans, and so we are still looking at that. So stay tuned. That is a possibility that we're looking at. We are also looking at, and Keith, Michael alluded to this, other innovative ways of farming. Some of the things that we're looking at, again, half the property is water, lake and pond. So we just got a grant to look at planting on the lake serving as a hydroponics. So let me describe that in a little bit more detail. There is a floating mat technology. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a mat that floats on the water. On the floating mat are holes cut in it. And that's where the plants go. They have a hydroponic cup. It's basically just a cup that has holes in it to allow the roots to get through it. And the plants go in these holes on the floating mat. And we've just gained back 30 acres of planting. So we have now food underwater with the fish, but we also have food above the water now with this hydroponic floating technology. That's just another example of how we are trying to be innovative with the farming. Do that in collaboration with our partners, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, the Master Gardeners, and a lot of agriculture schools like Texas State University, Texas A&M, and others. But we have a lot of things that we're thinking about: housing, the floating mats. We have hydroponic towers. We're working with a group that works with NASA that has these towers that allow you to grow in bulk foods through something called aeroponics. Instead of sitting in water where the plants can absorb nutrients through the water, It's aeroponics. And what aeroponics is, you spray a mist of water on roots that are just basically hanging in the air. And that's enough where the plants can thrive and actually have fruit and have vegetables. So lots of different things that we have going on at the farm. We want to be innovative, but we also know that our mission is really to feed people physically and spiritually. Other questions?
I have 3 questions.
Sure.
I noticed that there you had a picture of quite a bit of honey stacked in
Yes.
bottles.
Yes.
Where do you sell that honey?
So the honey is sold right now at the farm.
At the farm?
But I think what you're gonna ask, or at least let me entertain you with, we are looking at opportunities to sell it online and also at farmers markets and maybe even at retail stores, because the honey is really one of our most profitable, if you will, products that we make. Each one of those 12-ounce bottles we sell for about $15. And I can tell you, it's better than any bottle you will ever get at a grocery store. And we have people telling us that those that have allergies, when they take our honey, their allergies go away. And that makes kind of sense, right? Because bees are using the pollen and the nectar of flowers, of the vegetation, weeds, and so they get slowly desensitized to any allergies that they may have through taking our honey. So right now at the farm, but soon to be online.
Good.
Yeah.
Next question. I've never heard of putting honey on a cut. What does that do?
So the honey has antimicrobial properties.
Yeah.
That's just a fancy word. It kills bacteria. And so it's like a neosporin. You put it on, it'll kill any of the bacteria that skin is exposed to or outside the skin. And your skin, after a period of a few days, basically will heal on its own.
Well, I've had hives at my home and I've never heard of that. So,
So hives is different.
well, that's where the bees are coming and going. And they're leaving the honey there.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to harvest it, but,
If you are able to harvest or need help, contact me. You have my business card. Oftentimes what we do is we'll harvest the actual whole colony.
yeah. Oh, okay.
And then we can get them to start making honey for us, for you.
Well, this is in South Carolina, so it's not.
That's a little far.
And I have one other
Sure.
question. You showed chickens up there.
Yes,
Do the chickens get along with each other?
the chickens do get along with each other. The key is that you have to have the right rooster to hen ratio. And the right ratio is, depending on your source, the right ratio is 1 rooster to 10 hens. Any more than that, any more roosters than that, they start, they start fighting. And you may have heard of this term called the pecking order. That's where it comes from, is that there's alpha roosters out there and they'll make sure they know, the others know who the alpha is.
So they have their colonies.
They have their colonies, yes. So we try to maintain it and it works out. Yes, sir.
I have a comment, but sorry, forgiveness. Because I promised myself, I say the truth, nothing can lose. First of all, thank you so much to invite me, right? I'm suffering. Really. And my suffering in Houston area, politics, everything, all about. And I feel God put me in like, I say I'm Jonah here. Please take me away. But really, what you told me with that one, I don't want to say inspire me, because I experienced that one almost 40 years ago. And whatever I can become agriculture, social worker, counselor, and everything. And like you say, food bank, pantry, I work now with their international. I see exactly the comment. I see people even I go to the trash and see what they carry and what's all of that. So I guess God have a reason to be today, especially when I missed another things. And I want to say God bless you because you already been blessed for that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess this is the pride, like to be here. What I know, the answer why I'm here in Houston area on Texas.
One,
Thank you.
thank you for your comment. Okay. Yes, sir.
I got a chicken question as well. You mentioned that all the chickens were donated. Now, are you at capacity with the space you have for them, or if someone had 100 chickens they wanted to donate, could you utilize that?
Absolutely. If someone has 100 chickens or just a number of chickens
Yeah.
that they want to donate, we would absolutely take them.
Okay.
We are actually expanding our chicken population. We're building more coops. We have one of our, you heard me talk about our model of addressing food insecurity through people coming and teaching them to do what they learn at the farm and do it at home. We have another model, which is giving out land for food insecure individuals that come and farm the land for free. Right. And one of the things that our Burkina Faso at West African group of farmers that are there right now, they're doing is they want to expand the chicken coop. They want to grow not only chickens, but they also want to do guinea fowl. Guinea fowl is just it's an African chicken. They have darker meat and they raise it for meat instead of for eggs. And so, short answer is yes, we can accept donation of chickens.
I don't have any chickens to donate, but I'm just, posing a question, just wondering what your situation is.
Do you have an online classes by any chance to teach others,
So
myself?
yes, right now we do not have an online class, but we just got a USDA grant to teach new farmers and gardeners to come out to the farm on a quarterly basis and have a full day of didactics. And in fact, tomorrow, if you are available, you could come to the farm and you could learn about we're talking about chickens tomorrow and we're talking about bees tomorrow and water conservation. So we do have the trainings on site. We are looking to expand online as well. Yeah, maybe one more question or okay. Yes, ma'am.
So are your classes online?
Right now, they're not online, but we are working.
Not the class itself, but if you want to find a specific class where they could come.
Yes,
Yes. Online.
calendars. Yes, the calendar of events and calendar of classes are online. And if you look at the website there, on the front, it should say harvestforthehungrytexas.org.
Need to put your glasses on.
And just one last thing, and then I know I'm over time. No, you're not. People always ask, what can we do to help Harvest with Hungry? It's really these four things. Number one, most important thing, pray for us. We covet your prayers and pray just for sustainability. Pray that we would reach out to others. Pray that God would give us the weather and the resources to produce food. Number two, what you could do is any contacts that you have, anybody that you know that might be able to help our organization in one way or the other. Introductions. Michael's one of the best introducers that I've known. These are things that like so really? So network. Number three is any type of in-kind donations. You heard me say one man's trash is another man's treasure. If there's something that somebody wants to trash and you think might be helpful to our organization, please contact me. In fact, Michael's gonna help me with some milk crates, and milk crates are wonderful for storage and organization and things like that. So just to give you an example, I told you about the wood picket fences and things like that. And then the fourth and final thing, of course, would be financial. And that's not just giving money or going to our website, pressing the donate tab, but that's also if you know of certain grants that we could apply for, whether it's in this community or others or state or federal, send them my way. We always look at all grants very carefully to see if we qualify and whether we have bandwidth to apply for them. So with that, thank you all for your attention. Thank you, Philippe, for this opportunity to present. For doing it.
What do I add to that, right? Again, it's been a pleasure knowing you for. No, thank you, Michael. Michael is my life, Patty, right? And he tells me when I'm in the bunker what irony is. Dr. David was assassinated, and in a lot of ways, God certainly has his hands on it. And me knowing you was is a blessing, and I know, and I really know there will be something done, even veterans, and you agree to let them house on your property, so we're working on that. There have been times with CRTF where I could have kicked myself and what do I do? And this and that. And it started off as like a no-brainer. Katrina came and went. And 2 weeks later, we had Rita, and it was very interesting. I just opened the hotel, and basically Hilton included. They go, boom, see you on the other end, right? And that was the ship floating, being blown left and right. Didn't know where to go. Is what I'm saying, and then you had a roof, so people show up to see under that. Do what you do with my stupid little Belgian head. I was a year old. I just hit that, and so it was a man-made disaster. I couldn't believe I was in America. It was new to America anyway, but I couldn't believe it. And people literally surrounded out the front door, and we had terminal cancer that week, and that's all of that. Anyway, all of that, but it put me on the map of certain people active in the community emergency wise. And so I was approached, Philippe, this was ridiculous. We need to do something. And no kid. So over pizza at Zio's at the time, I said, well, I don't know nothing about nothing, but hosts, I've got meeting rooms. But you invite, I don't know. I know my community a little bit, but I don't know the government. I don't know, the school districts and stuff. So it was decided we would meet, and all the meeting rooms were open. We had 189, standing room only. I was serving coffee, in an apron, and they decided to meet again every month and again. And then it got a little bit of structure. Even gave it a name, and then they had a board, and I thought, had to throw their name in the hat card, business card, and they said, "Oh, do it," and I never win anything, and so, but I got position number 7, and here we are. My point being is, it has its ups and downs, right? Because this is volunteers just like you, and comes from the heart, but we have to market it nevertheless. A lot of people outgrew CRTF into their own procedures and stuff. That's perfect. But we need their talent, and all of this is a partnership. Download the app. Help spread that app. It's the key. And if they have it on their phone, they do not think they have it, but something will happen. A plane crash, derailment, chemicals, airport, port, freeway, railroad. The stuff that, it'll happen. We always think flood, and hurricanes, there's a whole lot more. And, so just know that you have a key, click on it, post your need, and it goes out to us, to the partners, which we have ones of all kinds. CRTF doesn't store trucks or cots or anything, but the partners do. It's a matter of getting that word out, and that's what we do. And it's so hard to motivate people to be a part of it because we can't measure our success with dealers. You know, how much have we sold? What was the product? We can't do any of that, except when people tell us, oops, you need a difference. Okay, thank you. So anyway, that's basically from the heart for the community. Spread that out. Just have people that, you know, and by doing so, then they check us out, then they check on the website and fill out a partnership form so we know what their talents are. But we're never gonna tell them to do anything. But at least they'll know about it, or they will know somebody who does. I don't know, but he knows, and he doesn't know, he knows. There you go. First 48 to 72 hours when we're on. That's anyway, amen, right? Thank you, Dr. David Mayer, very much. Thank you all for being here. I don't know if anybody wants to share anything before we close. I guess not. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Probably a calendar event. I know that different groups might have calendar events, but Laura, won't you share what's coming up? So,
Yeah,
so okay.
start since they're here.
I think that's right in the same lane.
And our mission are and so
It's totally so hard. Just in general or?
The movie and, yeah, I think that's the opportunity
Okay.
to cast a vision.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the privilege to share and thank you for Philippe for this opportunity to gather here. And Dr. David, thank you so much for your presentation today. It's good to be here. And yeah, so there is a movie coming up. It's actually coming out July the 4th. It's called Sound of Hope. Has anyone heard yet about it? Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. It's coming out on July 4th, produced by Angel Studios, and it is a movie about a true story of a church in East Texas that basically just got the courage and call of God to adopt 77 kids from the foster care system, Texas CPS. So they're making a movie about it, and we really hope and pray and would just love your prayers as well that it will ignite a movement that will awaken the hearts of America as far as kids to help kids in foster care. There's 100,000 children that are waiting to be adopted in our nation and at this very moment. And there are hundreds of thousands of churches in our nation that could, if just one person adopted a child, it would literally clear out the foster care system. Not to mention the families that are at risk of losing their children in the foster care, just needing community and support. And so please mark your calendar for July the 4th. And there is a special showing on this coming Wednesday, which is Juneteenth, which is June 19th. There's going to be a special showing nationwide. If you want to see it a little bit early, you can see it and you can go to angel.com/hope to get tickets. And just share the word, spread the word, because honestly, God is just raising up a movement. He's really highlighting vulnerable children in our nation. And so he's wanting the church and the communities to be a part of this movement of the Lord. And so, so that is it. There are going to be call to actions following the movie for the community and churches to get involved, for them to meet needs, as well as to foster and adopt. So there's going to be call to action for literally anyone and everyone that wants to do something, no matter how small or how great, meaning meeting a need or adopting a child from foster care. So there's going to be a call to action. There's going to be hundreds of organizations nationwide that are going to be pointed to from this call of action. And so we're just really believing and praying that it's going to just really ignite and bring awareness so that people can be a part of being the hands and feet of Jesus. And so, mark your calendar. If you want more information, feel free to call or text or email me. And And so Courts Care Portal is one of those call to actions. Specifically, it is a connecting point to connect the community to children and families who are locally in need. Many families in the prevention and preservation. So before their kids are taken away, Care Portal connects the community so that they can have a local relationship to help preserve those families. And so they're going to be one of those call to actions. And so if you guys would like to be a part of that, I would love to talk to you more about it. But yeah, it's an exciting time and God is definitely moving, uniting the movements. There's so much, you know, what you shared today about food insecurity and which is really, you know, poverty related. And there's so many bad things that happen just because families are in poverty. And it's, as you said, it's a holistic, it's not just the material poverty, but it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's, you know, it's mental. And so what better church, what better people to have the point of care than the church and the kingdom of God to really help point people back to each other, back to community, back to God, back to themselves, because in that poverty that, you know, that is more than just giving a need is really helped. And so thank you, David, for really bringing that out today and sharing that. So it's all about it, just pointing back people and children of God back to their Heavenly Father who loves you so very much. And there's really, everyone can do something, you know, there's nothing too little that we can't do. There's no donation, there's no, you know, there's nothing that's too insignificant for people to be a part. Everyone's part matters. So I pray that you all will you know, be a part of that and being a part of Harvest for the Hungry or meeting needs of children, whatever it is, if it's a prayer, if it's a hug, if it's a smile, being part of, you know, being a part of CTRF, but everyone, you know, is significant. And I see just fathers in here today and mothers and generations. And so just want to encourage you that your part is very significant. Your role is very, very significant. And so these are the best days. We're living in the best days, the greatest days, because when the earth gets darkest, that's when the church bride shines the brightest. And so we need you. The world needs you. Children, families need you. So thank you and God bless. Yeah.
Do you repeat the website for the movie?
Absolutely. It's www.angel.com
Yes.
/hope.
Thank you. Let me just put a thread in here real quick, and that is the magazine you were just given for David's also highlight Care Portal. We're new to the organization, and Star did share this month about Care Portal, and then also so to kind of give you a impact statement, we're hoping that just like the Sound of Freedom movie, everybody sees the Sound of Freedom movie that highlighted human trafficking, that this movie Sound Hope will just be as impactful and a shot across the bow of our communities and our churches and our country to the need that we find ourselves in.
I see fractions of it somehow, right?
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
We do this every month. Second Friday of the month.
What's upcoming? We could be steal the thunder. That's fun.
You can go through the website. First, you can go through the website. We have it now. Everybody?
Yeah, sorry.
Star, that's in the back place.
One day. Oh, like.
Yes, she wants out.
For like maybe.
Here.